enough to win the SEC championship, we hang our hats up, you know. But the most important thing, I think, to South Carolina fans is probably winning against Clemson, more so than winning an SEC title. So then he touched on, you know, the defense is going to be ready and to go, and so we should be good on both sides of the field.
Yeah, Steve Spurrier has taken a few jabs at Alabama and its head coach this offseason, but when he says it comes to the SEC that Bama are the clear favorites, do you agree with him?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, you should have seen this crowd when Nick Saban was there yesterday. It was incredible. I've never seen anything like it, and I've never heard so many Roll Tides in my life. Our friends at Saturday Down South, they were actually handing out shirts, and they said it was just packed, and the most packed day, which, of course, being in Alabama is understandable, but they even beat up Auburn fans, so that I definitely see them as an SEC favorite every year, but more so at SEC Media Days.
Yeah, it's his 10th year with the Gamecocks. He raised some eyebrows by questioning whether Alabama had maxed out its potential with only 2 SEC titles in 8 years. Is he sour grapes, or do you think Spurrier does have a strong argument against Nick Saban?
You know, I think he does have a strong argument against Nick Saban, and especially Spurrier, you know, being in the position that he is. I think that he can kind of say what he wants, you know, and get away with it. He's an awesome coach and everything like that, and he'll jab different coaches. It's funny because he'll do it in a matter where you really wouldn't, I guess, think he's jabbing a coach. So, but he definitely, I guess, has the ability to do that.
Justin Houston, as you just wrote a recent article for Bleacher Report in regards to whether the Chiefs should sign him to a big contract, as this offseason Alex Smith, their quarterback, and Justin Houston are both entering the final years of their contracts. Houston had 11 sacks last season, Gary. Is he worth a huge contract at the end of this year?
I don't know that the Chiefs really have much choice in the matter. I mean, you look at the Kansas City defense when Justin Houston was on the field last year, especially early in the season, versus the Kansas City Chiefs defense when Houston was sidelined with an injury. They gave up almost 10 more points a game. I mean, that's a big number. When Houston was healthy and got off to that torrid start, Kansas City's defense was as good as any in the league. But when Houston went out and teams were able to focus their attention more on Tom Ali and that Kansas City pass rush faltered, the secondary was exposed. A secondary that's probably average at cornerback at best. So, and that's, now they've lost Brandon Flowers, so they may even have taken a step back in 2014. I think it's very important that they keep that pass rush, that they keep those bookend linebackers in Ali and Houston for as long as they can. And then they're going to reach a point where there's going to be an odd man out here in probably the next 2. I think Ali's contract is up after the 2015 season. At that point, they'll probably move on from him. But for right now, like I wrote in the article, if the Chiefs were to lock up Alex Smith and Justin Houston, which they can play monkey move up with the salary cap some which way to get it done. Teams do it all the time. They're essentially going to have a 2-year window, 2014 and 2015, where the team will be essentially intact before they're going to have some pretty big decisions to make. And that's the direction they're going to go. Teams don't, I don't know many NFL teams that are going to worry more than 2-3 years down the road.
You know, that's what people do. I mean, obviously they're going to root for their Lakers, they're going to root for their team, but it still is very seen and be seen. So regardless of how well they're doing, I don't think it's going to retract from a celebrity, especially if they just have a movie that's coming out, or, you know, they're, you know, making a CD that's going to be going on a tour or something. When a celebrity has something to promote, out and about is where they want to be. So, I mean, what better place to be seen than to go to the Staples Center? And I just think that it's not going to really affect it much.
It will likely be a long season for both teams who receive a bunch of publicity on ESPN or basically everywhere in the sports world. Looking at the Lakers and the Knicks next season, who has a better chance of being a playoff team?
I think probably the Knicks. I think the Knicks have a better chance just because the Western Conference is just so much tougher than the Eastern Conference is going to be. There's just better ball being played in the West right now.
And Byron Scott, as I mentioned, is a rumored name in Lakers. Do you want Byron Scott coaching the Lakers next season?
I would. And you know what? Actually, August 10th, I am involved in a celebrity softball tournament in my hometown of Pawtucket, and it's going to be at McCoy Stadium. And I was actually promoting it a little bit on Twitter today. And we're going to have Byron Scott there. It's the Jeffrey Osborne, who is a 80s singer, celebrity softball classic. And Byron Scott's going to be there, and James Worthy, and Magic Johnson.
Oh, wow.
So maybe I might take Byron aside a little bit and be like, come on, man. Just go. I mean, you can't do much worse, can you? It really can't be much worse, can it?
No. If they give him the right amount of money, nobody could turn that down.
Yeah, exactly.
And looking at this whole free agency that's been happening in the NBA, what's been your big surprise or the biggest thing you've taken away from it so far?
So far with free agency, I was actually surprised that the Hornets were able to get Lance Stevenson, and they got him at such a discounted price. Personally, I think that because I didn't think that Indiana was actually going to necessarily let him go. I understand that, they consider him a troubled player, they consider him a team wrecker, but I was actually a little bit surprised that the Hornets were able to get him at such a bargain basement price, even though, the Pacers basically tried to just, say that he ruins teams.
Starting with the standard leagues right now, you've been playing your entire life, Dave. What is your strategy this year as we approach this year's draft in fantasy football?
That is one of the best questions I've been asked all year because, for once, and I have been playing for well over 20 years, and I have never seen drafts that have gone so all over the place this year. The strategy for me this year has actually been much different than in the past. The standard was to go running back, and everyone gobbles up the running backs quickly. Well, if you've been paying attention in either PPR or standard leagues, that hasn't been the success story. The success has been, getting value where you can get it. But I've seen the ones that have been winning have been waiting on the running back position. Unless you can get the first four, the big four that are starting out, McCoy, Forte, Peterson, and Charles. Everything else is a question mark. So I just had one draft that I completed, and I actually waited till the 5th round before I even took my first running back, and ended up with Frank Gore. I had bottled up Ray Rice with a backup. I believe I had Bernard Pierce a few rounds later. And I'm just going to play those by committee and then load up early on, and even quarterback early. I'm loading up on the other positions early.
And look at the trends in your draft that you were in. What was the deepest position you saw?
You look at if you believe what most prognosticators are saying these days, that there is going to be a regression outside of the anomaly of Peyton Manning last year with his 50-plus touchdown passes. That's only happened one other time before. So will Peyton Manning probably be the top quarterback? Yeah, likely, but he's likely to come back to the group. And I'm going to say right now that I could see, not that big of a difference between, say, a Ryan Tannehill that you get in the 10th round and a Peyton Manning that is going in the 1st round. I'm waiting on, if you're going to wait, I'm waiting on quarterback.
They played the entire spectrum of the steroid era in baseball, and no question whatsoever was clean, and obviously I think should be the face of baseball.
Yeah, he really leaves his legacy without any damaging images, no cloud over his legacy. Will we ever see a player like him again in Major League Baseball that really carries this mantle and becomes a role model?
I don't know if we will. I can't say that we won't. I think it's possible, but at the same time, you also have to realize that had we had the social media that we have now in the 60s, we would have all heard nasty things about Mickey Mantle and his adultery and things like that, and we wouldn't have been as in love with him as we were. You know, we would not have been as big of fans of guys back then. So it's not like it's not like we had better morals before in sports. A lot of it was the same. It's just that now, more than ever, it's more difficult to get through a career. Playing your entire career with one team and then not getting in trouble, having a Hall of Fame career, putting away well over 3,000 hits, and being the captain of the Yankees and winning, how many World Series? 5 World Series titles?
5, yes.
I mean, that's incredible. That's incredible. When you really break it down like that, it's just amazing. A guy played during an entire era where his teammates like Jason Giambi and Pettit and Clemens and A-Rod all were going down for steroids and performance-enhancing drugs. This guy remained the face of baseball, the Yankees, and anybody who believed that the game still had some kind of a purity to it.
Yeah, it's quite amazing to have this clean image throughout his entire career. When you see NFL players, they damage it in a week. It seems like every week there's a new NFL player whose image is ruined. Josh Gordon could be one of them. But last night, Mike Trout was named the MVP. He went 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. Is he somebody that could perhaps replace Derek Jeter's presence in the MLB? Is it really too big of shoes to fill?
Yeah, well, at this point, it's too big to say. I mean, it's like, remember when we used to say Juwan Howard was the next Jordan?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's terrible to think back on that, but we were just so sure that was going to be the case. It's too big to say who's going to be the face of Major League Baseball. I'll tell you this, he stands the best chance of it. Not just because he's talented from all aspects of the game of baseball, but because he also speaks English, honestly. The top players in the game don't do interviews anymore. They stay away from the press. They leave the locker room before the press is allowed in because they don't speak English and they don't want to do interviews. And if they do speak some English, they don't want to sound uneducated. So they just leave. You know, Ichiro Suzuki has been a model, player and personality on and off the field, but he doesn't speak English. So nobody cares that he's had this great career. He had a chance to be this star in baseball, and he never really became one outside of his on-field play because you don't hear him speak ever. You know, how do you play over a decade's time in Major League Baseball and not learn how to do an interview?
Yeah, it's a remarkable thing that LeBron James signed with the Cleveland Cavaliers. It was a 2-year contract worth about $42 million, but his contract doesn't only help the Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll talk about that in a second, but it really helps the city of Cleveland. Forbes magazine projected that LeBron James' return to Cleveland will generate over $500 million a year for the local economy with a boost from additional ticket sales and other spending such as restaurants, jersey sales, and so forth. So how big of a magnitude or type of person is LeBron James in the public eye for Cleveland?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, it really is. And the tremendous addition of him will immediately make the Cavaliers worth probably $500 million more than they were worth a week ago. And in addition, there's no question this team has struggled to sell tickets. That's not going to be an issue anymore. They're basically sold out of season tickets. They did that in less than 8 hours. So it's a tremendous addition. And let's face it, the fans of Cleveland are the most patient, most loving, most loyal fans of any country, any city in the country. And we've supported the Indians, we've supported the Cavaliers and the Browns, and this is somebody that's trying to give back and give back a championship. We haven't had one of those in 50 years.
Yeah, the last time was the Cleveland Browns. The last time it was the last one you guys had. This Cleveland Cavaliers team is very young. You have Kyrie Irving, the number 1 draft pick, and Andrew Wiggins. And then Tristan Thompson, Anderson Varejao is the only veteran person really on that team. You have Deion Waiters, too. The biggest question for this is, how will the team's wealth of other young talent mesh with a 29-year-old who has 11 years of NBA knowledge?
Well, I think it matches very well, because the one thing this team was lacking was veteran leadership. And I think there's no question that LeBron brings that, and he relishes that role. Now, the big question is, will they bring in another big name like a Kevin Love? And I think they probably will. My preference as a general manager sitting in that chair would be to probably wait and put some additional pressure on Minnesota. The Timber Kitties are not going anywhere, with or without Love. And the value of Love has gone down significantly since he made the statement that I would be willing to sign a long-term deal with Cleveland to have a chance to play alongside LeBron.
Looking at the quarterback position, you think it's very deep this season? Should you really go after a Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers or Peyton Manning to win your league?
Oh, I think it's unbelievably deep. In some of them, they have Nick Foles, Stafford, and Luck going in the first 6 picks. If you go down and look at the first, I think that there's enough at quarterback to be able to fill everybody's needs in the 12-team league and have them come up with a pretty decent quarterback. And as you go down and look at Manning, Rodgers, Brees, Foles, Matthew Stafford, Andrew Luck, Cam Newton, tell me to stop at somebody you wouldn't want. Matt Ryan, maybe, but he's got Julius Jones and Roddy White. How about Robert Griffin? How about Colin Kaepernick? How about Tom Brady, Tony Romo, Jay Cutler, Russell Wilson? How about Phillip Rivers? I think that you can man your team with one of those quarterbacks, and I think that you can look for 250 yards, 2 TDs, 18 points a game from those guys.
It's an endless list. I did my mock draft as well, and I did one where I took a quarterback early, but then when you do this is what I want to stress to people, because in one quarterback, I'm in a 2-quarterback league, which is totally different, but in one quarterback league... What was that?
You start 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, for our league, it's always been 2 quarterbacks in our leagues. It's quite fun, but it really changes the entire dynamic of how you draft your team. But what I really want to stress to people, you just hit it right on the nail, that the quarterback position is so deep. If you take one in the first, second round, you're really sacrificing on the key spots, such as running backs, which is very thin this year, but wide receivers are very deep. And you can't really sacrifice on getting a good running back this season.
Yeah, you're right on. Last year, I had a philosophy that I was going to draft running backs in the first 2 rounds because I thought that the wide receivers were pretty deep. And then I saw that with the tight end and the quarterback position, they change very, very little. 1% retention in quarterbacks. I mean, if you take 10 out of 14 or 12 or 13 quarterbacks, that's no change at all. And the same way with tight ends. Quarterbacks and tight ends don't change much, especially if you get a Peyton Manning or a Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, but somebody else that stays there for 13, 14 games. With a Peyton Manning, you never have to worry about a backup. Same way with Tom Brady, 1 year excluded, he hurt his knee. But these guys will play for 15, 16 games.
At tight end.
Not one of these guys, you know that you can maybe wait, and if he has a bye week in the 11th or 12th week, heck, you don't have to worry about a quarterback for, 2/3 of the season.